Post Office is a 1971 autobiographical novel by the American author Charles Bukowski. Bukowski was born in Germany in 1920 to an American father and a German mother. His family moved to Eastern America in 1923 and to Los Angeles in 1930, where he spent most of the rest of his life. His father regularly beat him during childhood, but in adolescence he discovered alcohol, which he considered a liberation. He studied art and literature at college, but after an early lack of success, drifted into a succession of low-paid jobs. Post Office was his first novel. He writes about himself under the name Hank Chinaski, and it's an account of his 11 years from 1958 to 1969, first as a mailman, then as a clerk in the sorting department. Interspersed with that is a description of his relationships with women. He presents himself as nearly always eager for sex to the point of farcicality. Nevertheless, the three women who play the biggest part in this novel, Betty, Joyce, and Faye, are no mere caricatures, and they all come to despair of him. Post Office reads like a series of interconnected anecdotes relayed by the unofficial shop floor comedian to his workmates during a cigarette break in the factory canteen, like something you're overhearing. The author's eagerness to please is so much in the foreground that it's easy not to notice some of his more horrendous yarns. In chapter 14 of the first part, he describes a rape that may or may not be a rape. It's recounted for laughs. What really happened, or whether anything at all happened, is now unknowable. Having said that, take away the drollery, and what you're left with is a hard-hitting depiction of blue-collar labour in a dehumanising industry. The bosses, the supes, for all their aggression, have limited power over those they supervise. The job's so difficult that 95% of new recruits drop out, and those that stay are too valuable to sack, but often, like Chinaski, too outspoken to comfortably assimilate. Those who make it to retirement, like G.G. in chapter 16 of part 1, are radically burned out. I had seen the job eat men up, Bukowski writes. They seemed to melt. Take Jimmy Potts. When I first came in, Jimmy was a well-built guy in a white t-shirt. Now he was gone. He put his seat as close to the floor as possible and braced himself from falling over with his feet. He was too tired to get a haircut, and he'd worn the same pair of pants for 3 years. He changed his shirt twice a week, and he walked slow. They'd murdered him. He was 55. He had 7 years to go till retirement. I'll never make it, he told me. Arbitrary new demands and managerial sadism are routine, and the work schedule's always just 1 inch shy of the literally impossible. At the end, we get a list of Chinaski's various industrial offences. At one point, he almost accidentally burns down his workplace, yet the post office still accepts his resignation with great reluctance. After he leaves, he suffers a major breakdown, to the point where he almost takes his own life. Given all that, his approach to the world, his functioning alcoholism, his gambling, his relentless pursuit of sex, his inclination to make everything comedic, might well be interpreted as a coping strategy, as a means of dealing with a pervasive institutional insanity. Moving on, Bukowski's writing style is one of the biggest reasons to read any of his novels. He wrote 6 in all, and this one's no exception. It strongly resembles the writing style of Jack Kerouac, but whereas Kerouac was hamstrung by the stubborn conviction that he shouldn't self-edit, Bukowski wasn't. It's also worth noting that Bukowski himself, or at least his alter ego, Hank Chinaski, strongly resembles Kerouac's muse, Neal Cassady. Bukowski was undervalued during his lifetime. He was passionately loyal to the small and shoestring presses that had helped him in the earliest stages of his writing career. When he died in 1994 at the age of 73, he was beginning to become legendary. Today, many of the most popular novels are written by academic teachers of creative writing courses or by the products of such courses. They rarely write about the nickel and dimed class, as Barbara Ehrenreich called it. If they did, they'd probably have to sanitize it for middle-class stroke student sensibilities. Charles Bukowski, however, is the real deal.